Okay.
And Kara, I'm sorry, since you're the host, you'll have to let people in as well. Sorry about that.
Oh, got you. Um, okay. Let me admit. Give me 1 second, because I have to go back to the screen to admit people. Uh, okay. Should I start? Okay. So I'll start with the presentation
Yes, Kara,
now.
did you see Dr. Graves? She
Oh yeah,
dropped.
oh,
Okay.
I think I just admitted her. I just clicked admit. Hi,
Yeah,
Dr.
she's in.
Graves.
Hello, hello. Sorry I'm late.
No worries. Okay. Um, So, first of all, like, thank you so much for this internship experience. And I really, really enjoyed working with the King Center. I really enjoyed all the lessons with the NV365. And I have never thought that I would ever have the experience as a high schooler to be involved with Dr. Martin Luther King's legacies, and this is such an honor experience. And I really want to thank Dr. Graves and Miss Latish Bryant and everybody else that gave me this experience. And I really want to thank Miss Latish Bryant for working with me this entire time. Um, yeah, so let me start with my first slide, which is how I started in this journey. So I attended the Beloved Community Global Summit on my own, like Ms. Latish Bryant mentioned, last year, January 2025, actually. It was my first time traveling to another place by myself. I think that kind of tied in with like the first principle of nonviolence, which I showed courage as a first time traveler and first time flying to Atlanta by myself. And also like I really used the experience to info gather and learned a lot of stuff about nonviolence, about AI, about society, and about ethics. And I was really, really inspired by the conversations on AI, ethics, machine learning development that happened during the summit. And I was really inspired by Dr. Bernice King's speech in the beginning. And that was actually mentioned in my Stanford supplemental, and it kind of affected my decision to really want to REA to Stanford because of the opportunities in AI and society that it offers. And so that was really a very motivational experience to me. And after that, I contacted Dr. Kalisha Graves after the conference, and that expressing like my passion and interest in working with the King Center. And thanks to her and thanks to the King Center, I got this internship experience. And so a little about me as a high schooler. So as a Florida high schooler, I actually moved here from China a couple years ago. And I moved here because I really wanted safety for me and my family because like I didn't want to live in an oppressed government in China. So I moved here with a deep passion in diversity, equity, and inclusivity. But I came here and I saw the right extreme policies that our state government and now sometimes the federal government is imposing, such as banning like critical race theory and for students like us, banning African American AP studies and AP psychology because it has identity related curriculums. And so I really didn't want me and my family to live in such a government that does silences voices. And so I really wanted to change that and raise awareness for my generation on what the true meaning of DEI is. I really wanted to build like a diverse, equity, and inclusive world for our generation. And with the words of Dr. Martin Luther King's philosophies, which I later learned after interning and doing the NV365 and the BCLA, is that I really wanted to build a beloved community by starting with the awareness raising for our age group. And to build it for my generation as well. And so some of the work that I do is I have a Don't Erase My Identity podcast where I interview a lot of like DEI pioneers and people on inclusivity. And this is a little snapshot. Um, Hello, everyone. Welcome to DEI. a podcast dedicated to discussing and raising awareness on the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion. My name is Kara Siet, and we're thrilled today to have Denise Hamilton with us. She is a and then this is like some of my interviews. I'll like talk to them, and I have different interview questions for each person. And then I started that in 2023. Now it's grown to have 19 interviews as of right now, but I obviously want to grow it more. And this is another thing that I do apart from the podcast is my conference. So I hosted this March 2025. I kind of organized it myself. I fundraised for it myself, and there was like 100 people who showed up. But also in this conference, I mentioned the Beloved Community Summit. I was deeply inspired by the conversations on AI injustice, ethics, and equity. And I realized about how real impact be introduced to us in our generation. Yeah, and this happened like this year in March. And I had like 100 participants hearing about like inclusivity and how to create impact in our local community. And the Beloved Community Summit was really a key thing that inspired me to host this conference as well. And moving on to my experience with the King Center. So it all started with the NV365 experience. And it was a really transformative platform because I only learned about Dr. King's philosophies in history class, which obviously teachers don't really go really in depth into this because they have a whole curriculum to teach, and that's just one part of the curriculum. But at NV365, I was able to learn about his philosophies in depth and also structurally. And I'm really grateful for Miss Coretta Scott King as well, who devoted a lot of her work in her life to documenting Dr. Martin Luther King's revolutionary journey as a civil rights fighter. And it would never have been Dr. Martin Luther King's philosophies would never have been spread without her. And on this slide is some of the key values that I really took away with my experience. And the first is the world house versus beloved community. And it really puts into words what I envision and what I want our generation to grow up to become. And also my goal the entire time with fighting for Don't Erase My Identity and DEI at our local and state level. And I actually mentioned this in my supplemental essays as a beginning phrase of like when they ask you like what you're passionate in what you want to achieve in the future. And so that's been a key part in my applications as well. And the second obviously is the 6 steps to nonviolence. And a few steps that I really resonated with me, and I feel like I should continue growing and learning. Obviously all is important, but these are like 2 that I really took away with me and wanted to highlight. The first is info gathering, because I really learned a lot when doing advocacy, but I didn't really learn it from just talking. I learned it from understanding another person's perspective so I could better advocate for what I believed in. And I think whenever we approach issues, the biggest thing is to learn and listen. And I might not have fully mastered that. So info gathering is really important when it comes to conflicts. And the second thing is personal commitment, because I think even as a high schooler, I have a lot to learn about. And personal commitment is one, because even as somebody who says I'll advocate for DEI, there's oftentimes that, like, for example, in friend groups, there might be times where I have left my friends out, or like I've let somebody else feel that they're not included. And I think like that's the most fundamental thing that we all need to work on. And personal commitment is the first step to achieving what I always want myself to become. And yeah, so that's like a really important part. Another thing is transportation. So like transportation, I know like in the NV365, there was like about Montgomery bus boycott and how like a lot of the civil rights movement started with transportation. And the reason why I wrote that is because recently I attended the ACLU camp, and I sat through Miss Deborah Archer's presentation, and she wrote a book on transportation and the histories of how infrastructure has led to unequal access and has been a key part in keeping marginalized communities away from access to equity and access to opportunities. And I think that really tied into some of my lessons in FA 365, how a lot of things stayed and kept started growing through transportations and started growing in local communities. And the fourth thing is the sixth principle of nonviolence. And personally, I know the BCLA last time we really talked about which one we love, which one we resonated with for the six principles. And I really resonated with the fourth principle about how nonviolence sometimes is voluntary suffering to transform societies and people. And I think it's truly powerful and inspirational. And I think that is what it takes to become a true leader. And I hope I can do that one day. So moving on to my internship experience. So I worked on building the alumni network for the beloved community, and I separated into two parts: pre-involvement and post-involvement. So pre-involvement is before you join the alumni network, how to get them to join, and then post-involvement is what they do after they join. And a lot of the perspective that I'm taking sometimes when building the alumni network is sometimes trying to attract youth and trying to market it to youth and trying to stay youth connected. So a lot of it will be related to the youth. And then so I have 8 ideas for pre-involvement and 8 ideas for post-involvement. So the first thing of the alumni network is the meet and greet with Dr. Bernice King. And I really think, so the reason I attended the Beloved King Center Summit was it was in 2024 when I saw a Dr. Bernice King interview. And obviously I knew a lot about Dr. Martin Luther King from history class, everything, his speech and all that before, but obviously that's not in-depth information. But then I saw that interview with Dr. Bernice King, and I was actually really inspired. And so I think a lot of people feel really connected to the King community as well through that. And I think Dr. Bernice King can host a forum or event, maybe small, but very powerful in allowing alums to connect with her personally. And so I created a sample template email for how to invite alums to the meet and greet, and this is the template. And then the second idea is to launch a newsletter. And the part that I really emphasized on was podcast stories of local activism, because I do have a podcast. And I think youth voices should definitely be heard as well. And so I think, for example, the BCLA students who have created actionable impact in their own communities can be featured. And it would be really great if alum students could, I guess a lot of people want to get into good universities, although I don't think that should be your key reason for doing advocacy work. But I think that can be a marketing point for a lot of parents of youth. And I think that that might be one thing that of featuring youth, because they have their impact work in their community. That's one part. And also they might have achieved marketable stuff that might attract parents. But that's just standing for a marketing point. But I think I would love to help with hosting the podcast, because I have podcast experience and I would love to work with other peers that are my age. And this is a simple email to activists, either youth or other people, to invite them for being part of the podcast and being a speaker at the podcast. And most of it, so most of the steps and most of the ideas I've created appendix sample stuff for it, so it's more in depth and more actionable steps. And another idea for me was to create like, I know I saw that there's a social hashtag, like social media hashtag for King Center already, but I just thought of like some other ideas, like a social media movement hashtag, like how like there was in 2017 or 2019 there was like a girls movement that was like with the hashtag, and I think that like that could be really powerful. And so also like featuring alums with like one-to-one like video interviews, and like it could feature like it could be quick snapshots, repost events at like it could be at events, and this is like sample interview questions for them. And then scholarship program is an idea, like maybe micro donations, just a suggestion. I didn't really expand on that yet. And then maybe NV365 to be accessible overseas. I heard that there has been some work done in creating NV365 on a larger scale and making it accessible for on a larger scale. So maybe that could be an idea. And then also like another youth part, like I think a lot starts in education, and I've seen a video about like on I think Dr. Maurice King was there too, and like a few King Center educators were there for a local school. I think that was what the video was about, but it was like in our video talking about NV365 and about nonviolence, and I think that could be really impactful as well. Like we could connect and with local schools and local foundations to talk about the legacies of Dr. Martin Luther King and the missions of King Center. And this is a sample email that I wrote to in partnership, and some things I highlighted was like in class workshops were legacy to leadership framework, like NV365 sessions, and then they could like modules and stuff, and then also like student network activation where like students can participate in BCLA, can participate in our service activities and stuff. And also key network in schools. I think that's like mainly up to like King Center's policies, but maybe create like a club with mission of King Center's mission to spread key network clubs in local schools. And yeah. And then the eighth idea I had was TikTok videos and Instagram reels to market philosophies with the work of King Center. And this is an idea that I just had, which is like Martin Luther King in your DMs. So like obviously like teenagers just like to DM each other, like text each other, and then this is like a scene of like when you see like Dr. Martin Luther King pop up in your DMs, and like but it's a lot about like Dr. Martin Luther King's philosophies and how he has guided like this teenager to go through like trauma and conflict. And then I think this will really get to like youth like me, because like we all use TikTok, and that's like a pretty creative idea. And then some post-involvement steps after they're involved in the King Center. I think like these are just a few big ideas, like sign up for the newsletter or register into alumni network database. And then I also thought of a alumni advisory board with like adults and stuff to suggest like new initiatives, to invite new people, mentor people. Like they could be in like kind of like leadership team, but not really be involved in the work of the King Center, but like hold their own jobs maybe, like, and then like maybe participate like monthly or whatever. This is just an idea. And then also like create a branch in their local community or school, and then building like resource archives for the King Center for future change makers. And these are some steps I actually expanded on, which is past and present connections with like King Legacy roundtables. And I think like, for example, BCLA students coming back each year to talk and lead a new crowd of BCLA students. And like Legacy Week Service Challenge. I know King Center has done a lot of stuff to help homelessness. Maybe like invite alumni networks together for a community service at the same week, at the same time, and invite their family members to get more involvement, and everybody can reunite together. And here are some sample like emails that I wrote. This one is for the leadership reunion. This one is for Legacy Week Service Challenge. Yeah, and then youth advisory board. So I think a lot of like BCLA students or like youth could be involved in King Center, because I used to be part of the youth advisory board for media powered youth, and we would have like discussions monthly on how to expand the scale of media powered youth for youth as well. And I think BCLA is achieving that. But I think we could have something that's like also like youth led. Maybe we can have BCLA students to be part of it. And here are some roles I highlighted that has been working in my local clubs and like I think a lot of like student organizations, which is like president, vice president, secretary, communications director, general board members, maybe a treasurer. And here's like the sample of like what I think the youth advisory board could look like. And then their roles as well. And then another idea I had was creative platforms with like art contests, poetry, essay, art, photography on justice, peace, and nonviolence. And I think it would be really important to bring back in honor of Miss Yolanda King. And I think it could really portray a lot of like King Center legacies. And this is a sample email for inviting people to join the contest. Yeah, and that could really spread King Center's legacies and philosophies to a lot of people that might not be involved with social activism and not be involved in the sphere, but they're in arts or in another like realm. Yeah, that's basically my ideas. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for the opportunity. I really enjoyed the development of the alumni network. Let me stop sharing my screen.
Great
Okay.
job.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Outstanding. Yeah, you did a great job, Cara. Great job on that. I really liked many of the ideas you shared, especially that idea around art contests or galleries and things like that. I think that's remarkable. So you put in a lot of work on this, so you should be proud of yourself, and we're definitely proud of you.
Thank you so much.
And very, very, very impressive young lady. As a retired educator, retired military person, I see the leadership in you. What I'm very impressed by how you internalize the information you learn, and I see that you are already implemented in your life and using these skills that you learn to improve yourself, but also to move your podcast and everything to the next level. So I see nothing but a win-win for you, and I wish you the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cara. So we know this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. Cara will be in person in October.
October.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Oh, good. You're in the Leadership Academy, right?
Yeah. I'll be continuing with the Leadership Academy as well. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Because we definitely want to make sure we keep you involved and engaged.
Of course.
Yeah. And now that we've seen you present, Ms. Teese can probably tell you that we typically call upon students at different times to do public things for the King Center. So I can imagine that you might be one of the folks we call in the future when we need some folks to stand on stage and articulate intelligently about the impact of the King legacy and Dr. King's philosophy. So again, just a great job. I'm very, very highly impressed, as I know we all are.
I would love that. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we are. Thank you, team, for signing on today. We appreciate you all. Cara, I think you have another 2 days or something, right? Or internship? Okay. Cara has a couple more days of internship. We're